Welcome to Tech Smarter. My name is Abby Ritchie, and this is the show where we talk with the operators, the innovators, and the investors who are shaping the future of aging services. Today's episode is sponsored by Leading Age Arizona, and Tech Smarter is a production of the Smarter service. Now, if you're a senior living operator struggling to provide consistent tech support for your residents and staff, the Smarter service is the premier tech concierge service dedicated to empowering older adults with personalized one-on-one tech support. From troubleshooting those darn printers to setting up video calls with doctors, we provide the human connection that makes technology a tool for independence, not frustration. If you want to learn more, go ahead and DM me with the word smarter, and I'll send you all the details you need. On today's episode, we're diving in to the heart of the future of active aging with a man who is actively building it. My guest, Colin Milner, is the CEO of the ICAA, and he's truly a visionary who's leading the charge in redefining active aging. We're going to be discussing the significant shift that's happening in senior living and why the ICAA Conference and Expo is your key to staying ahead of the curve. Now, this isn't just a change, it's a revolution that you've got to be part of. Colin, welcome back to Tech Smarter. I'm thrilled to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Abby. I'm thrilled to be here today. And, as they say, it's time to join the revolution, as you just said.
Yeah, I like to be a little bit dramatic, but that's the artistry in me. So, Colin, you've been on the show a couple of times, and I'd love to have you on to talk about the conference and everything that's happening there. I want to start with some things that are new and significant about this year's conference. But first, for anyone who doesn't know you, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Colin Milner. I'm the CEO of the International Council in Active Aging. And 25 years ago, I started a journey to help change the way we age. And our organization is in 57 different countries. And we have 10,000 senior living communities that belong to us. And they, in most instances, share our vision of helping people to live better longer. And what we do is we provide the knowledge to do that.
Excellent. Yeah, there's such a lack of support and a lack of hands-on support in this field. And I've noticed that at the ICAA, with it just being 2 weeks away, how does the event provide that kind of support for wellness, for technology, and for communities?
Well, Abby, everything starts with knowledge. To be relevant, you need to keep up to date. And that's really what the conference does, is it brings you together with your peers to, one, learn from thought leaders, and number two, also to learn from each other. And when you are with those around you, you can share your expertise and learn from them, but from the thought leaders who are implementing programs and services day in, day out, you're able to learn what some of these best practices are that you can take back and implement right away. And that is the number one thing that we always hear from attendees, is that the information is able to be implemented as opposed to just discussed.
I love that. What would you say are some of the big changes that you're going to be implementing this year?
Well, the big changes, for the conference is it's always about 50% of the conference is new speakers, new topics. For the industry, the focus is so much now in tech. Where technology plays in regards to management, in regards to customer experience, in regards to benchmarking. Technology basically is there in every single area. The question is how you use it to be more efficient and more human-centered, as opposed to the opposite.
Yes. What I noticed when I attended last year was the number of wellness-based models and applications and services. It looks like that is growing and growing. How has technology been implemented in those practices?
Well, so if you step back a bit and think about wellness looks at the whole person. So we look at what is somebody's, how to engage with your residents cognitively, physically, socially, spiritually, vocationally, emotionally, and environmentally. So each and every one of those has a component that technology can play in. Let's use a physical aspect. There's technology in regards to apps to help you in tracking. I wear my little Apple Watch, but but there's so many different technologies out there to help you track what you do. Whether it is meditation for the spiritual aspect, what you eat. There are time clocks now that will tell you what your expiration date is and actually help you work backwards by improving your health and well-being, that will actually change your date of expiry. I always think of it as a jug of milk. They're trying to tell you that you are only good until this date unless you do something different to change that expiration date, which is, we can talk about how they deliver that at a different time. But so all of these different areas have technology influencing what we do and how we do it. But it still comes back to the human doing it and interacting with professionals to help provide guidance. Yes, AI can help provide guidance, but maybe not the inspiration.
Yes, we've seen this over and over. It's the human element. And that's something that we also are very involved in with the Smarter service, because older adults need a little bit of extra support so that they can use their technology their way. And they need qualified support. I want to back up just a little bit and talk about some of the innovators in the senior care space, some of the preconceived notions about what older adults really want or need. And sometimes people just think it's about simplicity or it's about larger buttons, when in reality, it's about genuine utility and solving real problems. What would you say, from your perspective, is the single biggest misconception innovators have about developing technology for older adults?
That you have to develop something for old people.
Okay.
Uh, the reality is that you are developing something for people. A friend of mine, John Swanson with Willow Valley, John talks about building communities, not for seniors, but for people. And I think if you keep that in mind, and then as you look at that, your technology needs to take into consideration how to be flexible depending on somebody's capabilities, but not about age, because I could be highly capable, fully functional, cognitively alert, and be at the age of 90, and I could have challenges at the age of 30 in regards to my physical abilities, in regards to my cognitive abilities, because maybe I have been partying too much. Maybe I've been doing all of these different things. So I think we
You?
need to, oh, never, never. I think we need to put age to the side and really look more at what's the experience for an individual based on their capabilities.
Interesting. Yes. What I've noticed is that the ICAA, it's been a pioneer for creating a movement around active aging. And like you said, it's no longer about a decline of or a certain age. It's about a new stage of life with purpose and vitality. And so I'm curious, with your speakers and with the conference, what can your attendees expect to learn that's going to help empower them to lead this change in their own organization?
New, new. When we look at the selection, or when the selection committee looks at what people submit, one of the key requirements is there something new? Is there something that is going to move us forward? Or is it just repetitive? Is it the same old topic, being delivered by the 10 speakers that deliver that topic? Or is it something new and interesting? Is it a new presenter with new information and a new way of looking at things. So the number one thing that people look for at the conference based on our research is new technologies, new products, new services, and new knowledge. So what's the latest in trends? What's the latest in programming ideas? What's worked, what hasn't? And that's really what they'll find is new relevant information that will keep them on the leading edge, as opposed to just step and repeat.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn new concepts, new topics. One topic, unfortunately, that's not new is the loneliness epidemic. It is a huge social problem, but it's also a business challenge for senior living communities. And the future of wellness has to address this head on, not just as a side project. So I'm curious, how will the conference address this old topic, the loneliness epidemic, and what are some of the creative solutions attendees can expect to see that allows them to use technology to foster a genuine human connection?
Well, I think the thing you just mentioned there is use it. A lot of times we talk about it, but we don't use it, or we don't use it correctly. So, the loneliness epidemic is certainly here, and it's front and center. And the only way to address it is head on. So, what are things that you can do to engage residents, to become socially integrated into your community, to also have support even in their residences, so that they don't feel lonely? And we know that technologies like LEQ and Alexa and all of these things that people speak to, interestingly enough, has an impact. No different than somebody speaking to Siri when they're looking for a way to find where the grocery store is. But I think it still comes back to also human beings. How do you connect with those in your community? And, as a community, you need to set the stage where people feel comfortable in making those
Did he just freeze
connections.
up?
Whoops. Am I here with you?
You are. I think you just froze up for a minute, but you're back.
That's who would have said that we freeze, so rapidly, years ago. It would have been, just you're in the refrigerator, not online. But here we are. But yeah, I think it's all about social connection, and we need to set the table for people to be able to connect. And here's a thing to think about, Abby, and that is Carl Pillimer at Cornell, who does a lot of work in this area. Uh, when I interviewed him not very long ago, said, we have all this research showing how loneliness impacts things, how social isolation impacts things, but we have very little implementable strategies in regards to how to overcome that. And, we think we do, but do they really work? So I found that a very interesting comment, that you could be socially isolated, living at home with, 5 generations around you, or you could be completely socially integrated with, LEQ or something like that, just simply having a chat. The Department of Aging in New York ran a study that showed 90+% of older adults felt more connected once they started to use that technology versus before.
I love that concept. Thank you for mentioning that. It's really about taking the technology, adopting it, making it relevant for the person who's using it, and finding a way for them to use it so that it helps them connect with other people. So often we find that technology is done in silos as opposed to connecting the entire ecosystem and how someone can put it to practice. So I do really like that point a lot. I think so much of it also has to do with the education around it. It's one thing to say, these days we just get our devices. There's no manual. It's like you're leaving the hospital with a baby. Good luck, right? But we often don't take the time to teach someone how to use it, and not just teach it once, but teach it over and over and over again.
So think about this, and that is if I sit and use this 4 hours a day, could I also be connecting with people 4 hours a day? So, our life needs to find some form of balance. The balance between technology and the balance between, humanity. And I think that we have a challenge sometimes where we spend too much time on this and not enough time speaking with people. Or you have completely the opposite, where there are people who go, I don't want to touch these things. I'm going to stay fully integrated in society. I wonder how long term these are going to impact people's cognitive abilities, because I don't have to think much anymore. I just say a few words and what I'm looking for shows up. That's convenience, but am I challenging myself day in, day out? Maybe not.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. I can barely remember anyone's phone numbers these days.
Oh, that is so true.
So yeah, we are relying on this more and more and more. I want to ask you, just from your position at the forefront of the industry, what have been some of the most unexpected trends you've seen emerge as organizations begin to embrace more technology?
Oh, I think you begin to see things like exoskeletons. I experienced one myself when I was in Korea. I met with Samsung and put on their Fitbot, and it was pretty cool. But this exoskeleton enables you to push yourself a little bit harder if you want to, if you're exercising, and on the other hand, if you're not an exerciser, you can actually get strength training while you're using the exoskeleton with very small incremental increases. So it makes your life easier. Now, it's still a little bulky, but not as bulky as they were when you started to watch the show RoboCops. Um, so I think it's going to be really interesting when they become literally thin like your clothes with that kind of support. I think the other part of technologies that are really interesting out there is anything that tracks data, gives you some form of alert when you need to actually seek medical assistance. But up until that point in time, you don't need to keep going into the doctors for all of these different uh, rudimentary checkups that we normally do. I think that is probably the most exciting, uh, aspect to look at in regards to the future of healthcare, in regards to the future of wellness, is the ability to monitor and manage our own health in the moment. And that is the key. When you go to a doctor's office, you get a brief snapshot of a blood pressure cuff that they put on you or what have you. Here, you're wearing the technology, if you're like me, most of the day, and it is capturing your data for that whole time. So you're actually having a much broader snapshot of your health and well-being. But I think that the wearable movement is probably the number one thing in regards to health management. As far as loneliness goes, I think that there are a lot of different opportunities out there. You have robotics. You have, matter of fact, when I was in Korea, I got served by a robot, which was very interesting. Um, the problem with that is I couldn't argue with it. It just delivered the food and left. I wanted something that was not on my plate, and you can't argue with the robot. Hopefully someday you can.
That's when we need that human element, right? So that
Exactly.
you can continue to insist on your feedback for
Yeah.
sure, and it's still going to be necessary. Yeah, I love that. I do recall seeing the exoskeletons at CES over the past couple of years and seeing how much they have refined their process significantly. And the other part too is just seeing the data that's collected from them that can then be sent to physicians. It can be sent to families. It can be sent to your daughter who's always asking you to walk a little bit more, and just to make sure that you're following the physical therapist instructions. So that kind of data is so valuable. And ironically, like, we capture data like that when we're in communities so that we know what the biggest pain point is for the residents. And so that piece of capturing the data helps us serve people on such a deeper level over and over again.
And I think the data is great. The question that I always ask people is, what are you going to do with it? So if you can provide guidance of what to do with that data and what data to do something with, because as you know, a simple watch, depending on all the different apps that you have, can give you so much data as an individual. And as a community, depending on what tools you have, you can gather so much data, it can be overwhelming. So how do you whittle it down to what is actually, one, usable, and two, important?
And the other point too, that I see in so many communities is this ability to whittle it down to these 7 dimensions of wellness. I see this over and over and over again. Have you ever come across an example of a creative program that you've seen that integrates these multiple dimensions using technology?
I think a lot of them nowadays are doing it, but they're using different technologies. So, you can use, as an example, your laptop. You can use your watch, and with your apps, let's use as an example the spiritual dimension of wellness. You can use a meditation aspect of it to connect with yourself and and meditate. The social connection, maybe your app is connecting you to others around so you can be connected. So I think there's a lot of technologies out there. The physical aspect for tracking and improving your workouts, monitoring your heart rate, all of the basics stuff. So there's a lot of apps that can help you do that in one place, whether it's your laptop or whether it's your watch or what have you. I always say, what do you actually need the technology to accomplish that you cannot? And use it to raise what you're doing as opposed to just duplicate what you're doing.
Yes. Yes. I think it's easy to assume that everyone is using it or needs it for the same reason. I know that our tech concierge will often ask a resident, what do you use your devices for? And that question, like you pose, helps us to get to the root of how we can help a resident tap into the benefits of their technology. One thing I've seen when working with residents, especially if their family is around, is that a lot of times the family just wants to insist that a resident use the technology the way they're using it. And it's just not that way at all. It's for a completely different user. It doesn't mean it needs to be different tech. It just needs to be a different application. So I'm glad we're on the same page about that. But I want to ask you, as people are registering and maybe even considering continuing a registration, what's one key takeaway that leaders will be getting from the conference to ensure that their next wellness or their tech rollout is not just a success, but sustainable for their community?
I think that that's going to be different for each and every person. However, one of the things that you may want to go into the event with is thinking about what are you lacking? What are you weak in?
Mm.
What are your challenges that you can take some of this information and address immediately, or what are the new opportunities that you really haven't considered? So I think before you go to the event, you really want to sit down and take an internal audit of your community, of your organization, and think about what you want to walk away with before you get there, and then choose the sessions that will help you achieve that. Sometimes people go to conferences and it's like they're throwing darts at a dartboard. Oh, I'll go to that one. That sounds like it would be fun. Okay, great. You can have fun in a few of the sessions, but the objective is to come away with something that is going to improve your organization and make you more effective. So understanding what you need going in will help address that question that you just asked as far as the outcome from the conference itself.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good consideration. What are you lacking? What do you need to get from this conference instead of just trying to cover all your bases? So I do really appreciate that. Is there anything that you're particularly looking forward to for this conference coming up?
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to our keynote, Dr. Vonda Wright. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Vonda. She is an incredibly knowledgeable person. She will be speaking about, how really what she'll be focused on a lot is women's health, because she has a new book that has just come out called Unbreakable. And the interesting part is when I was speaking with her, she was talking about how things like bones are actually living organs. We think of them as these solid things, but they're constantly, growing and moving and so forth. So I think there will be a lot of interesting things that she will talk about. She speaks a lot about technology and the importance of it in regards to women's health. So I'm very excited to see her there. I think Dr. Richard Carmona is his session intrigues me, where it is augmented aging versus natural aging. Augmented being, do you utilize some of these technologies to, like exoskeletons, to augment your abilities? Apps to augment how you address things cognitively instead of using your brain. So how does all of this augmentation impact your quality of life versus if you were to just do it naturally without all of this augmentation? I think that will be a fascinating session.
Great. I'm looking forward to that as well. Well, Colin, I want to thank you so much for being here and for the incredible work that you're doing in leading the active aging revolution. How can people connect with you?
Well, they can reach out to me at any time at Colin Milner at ICAA.cc. Just shoot me an email. That's Colin with one L. If they want, they can visit our website at www.icaa.cc, or they can click on the link below that will take them to our conference website. But at the end of the day, it's not very hard to find me. Just Google Colin Milner, and I pop up. I don't say that egotistically. It's just an easy way of getting in contact.
I love that. Abby Ritchie as well. Easy way of getting in contact. Not too many of us with the same name. Well, thank you so much. I'll be seeing you in a little less than 2 weeks. And for the folks that joined us today, I just want to say thank you for your participation, whether you're here with us now or later. And when we talked today, it really was just about people having brilliant ideas, but without the right connections and a shared mission, they go nowhere. And so the future of aging truly isn't in silos, it's in the ecosystem. And that's what we're going to see at the ICAA. Now, I want to also say, I want to just leave you with this. The active aging community isn't just something that happens, it's something that we create. And so if there are topics, if there are guests that you would like to hear more of, please go ahead and send me a DM and we'll be sure to do that. And if you'd like to find out more information about the Smarter service, go ahead and DM me on LinkedIn, the word smarter, and I'll be sure to get you that information. Thank you so much for our sponsors at Leading Age Arizona, and we will see you right back here next week. Goodbye.